to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Well, welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. My name is Tom Dutta, and I am the Quiet Warrior. I'm super excited to have on my show today Mr. Jose Pinero. Jose, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. And I want to just say the audience how we met. I mean, we met through a connection. And as I started learning about your background, I was blown away by your story, some of the things you're involved in. And that we were just having fun offline talking about music. So I know that there's a lot we're going to learn from you today. Why don't we just get right to it? Jose, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Jose Pinero. I spent over 20 years in corporate America, and now I am an entrepreneur and a business coach to professionals, to companies, and to other entrepreneurs. And, to make a long story short, my mission in life is to help Latinos become more empowered and successful. So I'm doing a variety of initiatives to do that.
Well, that's amazing. And I know we're going to get into that story. I always say we have people who come on the show are authentic. They don't have egos. They park that at the door. And you're very authentic today. I want to, though, build you up a bit so people know the greatness behind you. And so notably, you're the founder and chief mentor at Latino Leadership Performance, a diversity consulting firm. And as you said, you help companies understand and nurture what really we call the Latino employees. You do keynotes, live, online, offline seminars and coaching. So there's a lot to your body of work. I was very impressed by your background. You mentioned 20 years. You've worked in many Fortune 100 companies. And one of the things that stood out for me about your background was that for half a decade, you led the Diversity and Multicultural Marketing Initiative for all of Microsoft. And you were really the voice of Microsoft to the U.S. Hispanic community and an advocate for that community. You're a smart guy. You've been educated, master's in business admin at Georgetown University, a Bachelor of Science from Cornell, and some other work that you've done. And also was remarking at your giving back, Jose. You were chairman of the board of organization and not-for-profit directors of Hopelink. So really, you have a passion for giving back to people to make sure they're self-sufficient. And then you've appeared in many publications, won awards and things. So, you know what? You've got greatness that you have in your bio. But I want to get you to take us into your story. We call it the hero's journey. Take us back where it began and tell us more.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for your kind words. I appreciate them. So at heart, I am, I was a Latino kid who was born in Puerto Rico. That's an island in the Caribbean. And I grew up there, left Puerto Rico to go to school in the United States. And then, work jobs, and I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes, but work a variety of jobs in hotels and tourism. And then went to grad school, got an MBA, and then worked for Procter and Gamble doing classic marketing, brand management. And after that, Microsoft found me, and I spent over 18 years at Microsoft. But at heart, I am just a little Latino kid who was very lucky, and because of that, and we could argue whether it was just pure luck or being at the right place at the right time, or because I worked really hard. I was able to see a lot and to be exposed to a lot of opportunities and to see behind the curtain and understand how decisions get made. And to make a long story short about that, I really feel that because I had this insight, I have a personal responsibility to kind of like share all that information. And that's why I'm so focused on helping people, become empowered and become more successful. And I'm starting with Latinos because that's my background and where I have more traction. But a lot of the things I will cover also can apply to other groups, other underrepresented minorities, women, people of color, different orientations, different nationalities, and all that. But going back to me, I grew up, in Puerto Rico, and I thought that, wow, things kind of happen, and I see opportunities, and I talk to people, and since I was a kid, I was able to kind of get things done. And I remember in kindergarten and first grade organizing people to do a show or some musical performance. Like you, I also love music, so music has been a big part of my life. So I did all those things. But then, one of the, going back to the challenge, and I think all of us, I love that you are a fan of John Maxwell and the hero's journey and all those, mythology stories. But in my case, there were a few moments in my life where some really important things happened
Yeah.
that really opened my eyes. So, for example, one of them, when I showed up at Cornell University, at some point I got my final room assignment, where I was going to live, and I was so happy. I go to the dorm where I was going to live, and when I got to the front of the room, on the door there was a notepad, and the person who was going to be my roommate wrote, "Why can I get a roommate from Long Island?"
Wow.
And
That's
you know
amazing.
what that
That's
means?
amazing. I
Yeah,
want to just jump in there, Jose, for a minute. I
yeah.
was just thinking about that as you started telling your story, that here you are, you call yourself a little kid from Puerto Rico, and maybe there was some luck involved, and you came over to America. As you take us forward from that sign on the door, tell us how you felt, what it meant, but how did it feel? Leaving your country, that in itself is courageous. Many people don't do it, but leaving your country, coming over to a country like America, and then when you found that on the door, what made you think maybe I should go? Why didn't you go back? Why did you stay the course?
Um, I did not think um, I wanted to go back because I didn't, even though it was very hurtful, because here's somebody telling you without knowing you, I don't want you around. I don't want you to be my roommate. Why can't I get somebody, then the translation is, why can't I get somebody who's like himself, or like white, from, Long Island, New York State,
Yeah,
basically saying, I don't want a Latino, because the only thing this person knew about me was my name.
yeah,
And my name, of course, is Jose Pinero. You can get that that's a Latino. But when I saw that, of course, I felt angry and I felt hurt. But I have a philosophy that when a door closes, you look for another window or another door. You just keep, if there's a wall, there has to be a way around it. I'm not going to beat my head against the wall. And when I saw that, I just automatically did not even knock on the door, walk away, and I called the housing office and said, "Hey, the person that lives in that room obviously doesn't want me. I don't want to be there either. So can you help me find another room, another dorm for me to live?"
yeah,
So, and maybe that has to do with also my personality. I don't dwell on things maybe too long. I can be upset and I can be angry and I do feel pain, but I try to quickly move into solution and what can I do? Like, how can we find a way out? How can we find a satisfactory solution for us? So that's how I approach life. So that happened when I got to college. The other thing I would just want to quickly mention is at some point I was doing business travel when I was working for Microsoft, and I went to New York City. I was staying in Soho in a super nice, fancy hotel. And when I checked in, they said, "Oh, leave your luggage, and we'll bring it up to your room." So I'm in the room. I'm like jumping. It's a beautiful room, a beautiful sunny afternoon in New York City, and somebody knocks on my door, and I'm like, "Oh, that's a luggage, right?" So I open the door, and I see a guy, a young man with brown, wavy hair, big eyes, olive skin, and the guy looked like me, and I look like him. And then I look at his name. I look at his name tag. His name is Jose. So in that, I'm getting goosebumps. In that moment, I realize, oh my god, like I could be him, he could be me. I just got lucky that I was born and placed in my conditions with my opportunities, but I could have his life right now. And that, this sounds very trivial, but it really made me feel we're all in this together. Like nobody's better than anybody else. We just, it's the luck of the draw. It's some of the cards that you receive in that hand of life. And that also made me think, wow, like, I could have been him if I didn't get some of the opportunities. What can I do to share some of what I have learned, what I have seen? all these lessons and advice from other people. And that's why I'm doing what I do now, which is kind of make sure that we provide access to information so people can make, better decisions, and then they can maximize their potential. But those two things that were really important in my life, and I know that sounds very trivial, like a luggage person bringing, a person bringing my luggage at a hotel in the late 90s, that really stuck with me because it really hit me home. Because we're all the same. It's just a matter of, what opportunities we got. Like, I could have been born in another country, in another circumstance, and my life would be completely different. And I'm still exactly the same person.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's trivial at all. Actually, I'm proud of that story. I honor you for saying it. I love that story. One of the things I thought about, you sent me on a direction in my mind, Jose, is you said we're all the same, and this is very true. Joseph Campbell, Hero's Journey, the narrative behind my show we talk about, in that going back centuries, even tribes were studied, that there's a common thread between all of us. I'm a guy sitting here with, I'm a South Asian. I've got dark colored skin, and I grew up in an era up here in Canada. If you read my book, you'll read a section called The Boy. And, back in that days, I was born in England, came to Canada, and I was called Hindu and raghead. I was called names. And the world has changed.
Yeah.
And today in Canada, we're like a rainbow. Everybody, all human beings, I believe this, Jose, all human beings just want to fit in. And we find the tribe, we find people that we can connect to, that we're alike. And so when you found Jose at the door there, part of your heart grew and made you reflect. So I think that's an empowering story. So keep us going. Tell us more.
Yeah, and then as I move on in my career and in my life, at some points I also had the kind of the revelation that deep down we're all the same, right? And I went to Europe this summer, and we were walking through Paris, and people have the same human condition. Everybody wants to be loved, appreciated, valued. People want to feel, like you say, that they fit in, that they belong. I joke with some friends, like, if you find anybody in the world that doesn't want to be appreciated, please introduce him or her to me, because I want to know that person. We all want that, right? We all want to feel love. We all want connection. So that's a basic human condition. And then on the outside, some of the details change. Some people look different. Some people use different words. Some people believe different things. But at the end, that's at the center. So one of the things that I also learned, and it was kind of a hard lesson for me, I was in corporate America for a long time, and I did okay, and I'm being very open. Like, I wouldn't say, there were moments where I did really well and other moments where I did okay, and there were a couple moments where I struggled. And part of the struggle, now looking back, was also me trying to find my own authentic self. And this it's complicated, because on one side, and a lot of the work I do right now with companies and coaching professionals hits on this, but we have to get to know who we are and basically embrace that person, and look for ways in which you can show as a whole, in a holistic way, with your whole authentic self, to work and to your personal life. And now looking back, I know, Microsoft struggled with me some moments, because my bosses couldn't figure out where to place me, or how to look at me, or how to manage me. Because here's this guy, me, who, I'm very driven, and I want results, and I want to, like, move the needle and do things. At the same time, I care about community. I care so much about family. My teams, I felt that they were family. Like, the agencies that work with me kept telling me, "Hey, Jose, you're the person that treats us like equals, and like you were part of the team." And I look at them going like, "Is there any other way in which somebody can do this? Like, this is the only way for me. I don't even know how to do it in a different way." But going back to the idea, it's a struggle, because a lot of corporations, they don't have the same values, or they don't know how to do it in a different way. And the employees themselves struggle, because they feel, oh, I have to hide part of who I am to fit in or to be successful, which is a tragedy. And then on the other hand, companies don't know even how to handle, like, they're like, we don't know, and they don't understand why employees are unhappy. and they don't realize that they're treating them like like cogs in the system or just a number. So part of the work we do, it's about bringing helping the employees up level their skills, become aware of their own assets, become aware of their own blind spots, and that's hard. It's painful when you realize you have blind spots. So that's on the employee side, and then on the company side, we have to educate companies on like what values the employees are looking for. We also have to educate managers so that they understand the culture of any specific group, so that they know how to bridge, and basically have those two people come in the middle. But going back to my journey, at some point, I also struggled because I was trying to fit in and trying to hide part of who I am, and I think that's not the way to go. I think the way to go is you need to make some of decisions about yourself, and then be proud of who you are, embrace your qualities, and then show up as a real self. And then you figure out whether that's the right place for you or not. But for example, I love the saying, I know you have also used your freak flag and don't be vanilla. So we have a saying for the work we do, which is don't be vanilla, embrace being dulce de leche.
Yeah.
Dulce de leche is a Latin-based flavor. Even Häagen-Dazs has a dulce de leche ice cream, and it's sweet, rich, powerful, but it's not boring. It's not bland. So I think that it's another way of saying the same thing about the freak flag. We
Yeah,
work with people to hopefully help them, show
absolutely.
their true dulce de leche flavor, because life is too short. We have to show who we are. We have to have fun. We have to have an impact, and life is too short for people to hide parts of who they are.
I totally agree with you, and I'm smiling because one of my passions, as you get to know me, is I'm a home chef. I love cooking, and
Oh wow.
that shows up on the cooking shows, what you just talked about. But I wanted to mention a couple other things that you set my mind on a journey in many different ways, Jose, was just some of the things you just told us. And I went back and I was looking, I got your bio in my hands here, and I can see now why they say, you've received some awards, you're very humble, but one of them was Latin magazine, business magazine, refers to you as the top 100 U.S. Hispanics to watch. And I just think that what you said to me tells me that you're somebody that has courage, but you also are somebody who can show up as your authentic self. You love yourself, you're proud of yourself, and you show up in the world. You're a mover and shaker, you're an entrepreneur. The thing that I struggle with I don't want to label minorities, but with some of the ethnic minority populations, is that if you go back and think about this, we're all born into the world with about 2 million neurons in our brains. This is what I've learned.
Yes.
Those are empty. And we start taking a thought and we wire an emotion together with it. And that's what fills our blueprint of who we are. Whoever said that somebody who's Latino or somebody who's South Asian is not worthy, is not good enough? And the reality is that in the first 10 years of life, what I learned from my own shame and vulnerability is that the belief that we're not enough really comes from within us. It's things that are told to us, things that we see with our five senses that are put in there in the first 10 years that aren't even true. And so I want to throw a question out to you, if you can comment on this for perspective. In the country I live in, Canada, and by the way, we're all the same. I mean, I have American friends. I've worked in corporate America. We love America. We love you. The thing I want to get at here is that when you come in my country, there's no such thing as labels. You don't hear us refer to Indians or Latinos or South Asians. Yeah, we have Chinese, Japanese, we have Latin American people here, but we refer to our people as Canadians. And yet, one of the things I was thinking of in the divisive culture that can exist, sometimes my perception in America, is that right instinctively, if you want to belong, yet you walk into a room and people refer to you as a Latino, instinctively that tells me that there's something, you're either unique in a great way or you don't fit, you're different. And I'm just wondering if you just comment on that, is how do Latinos coming to America fit in and belong in a culture where it seems to be that everybody has different labels?
Yeah, and let's just call it what it is. It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard to fit in. It's hard to feel you belong. You're absolutely right. People learn a lot of what people learn and integrate comes through the first few years of their lives. When they're young and they get raised by parents, community friends, etc. There's also some studies that also point out that some of the trauma gets passed in genes.
Yeah.
So that's a new kind of a new theory. So that that also compounds the effect. Yeah, but it's hard because you know Latinos in this country right now, there are 57 million Latinos in the U.S. and the projections, you can look at different ones, but the number is going to probably more than double within the by 2050. So if we do simple math, the U.S. will have an entire population, and about a third of it, 33% will be Latinos or some Latino mix. And I kind of joke around with people telling me, hey, you know what? Guess what? The likelihood of like my kids marrying somebody who has the same ethnic or heritage background as themselves is very low. And if a third of the country is Latino, most people will end up having a Latino relative in the U.S. by the year 2050. So we just have to embrace that, that things will change. And I'm hopeful. By the way, I am positive about the future. But there's a lot to be done because right now, like you say, the moment somebody says, "Hey, you're Latino," or you belong to this group, automatically there are labels, there's meaning, there are connotations, there's some challenges, and you're absolutely right. Like people believe, what they know, and if a kid, a young Latino or Latina kid, grows up believing that he or she is less or cannot achieve something because of their background, their heritage, their economic situation, and if they internalize that, then that defines their reality. And that's sad. And that's, I'm really bullish about trying to fight, and change perceptions because I believe that people define their potential based on what they know. If you
Yeah.
think the most you can aspire to, yeah, if you think the most that Tom can aspire to is to get to level 6, then you aim for level 6. If somebody tells you no, actually you can go for level 10, then, and you believe it, then you go for level 10. So again, it's all about, that's why, there's so many things affecting Latinos in the US. So things like, acculturation level, immigration, employment, education, health system, voting rights, overall, like, employment, all those things affect Latinos. And what we're trying to do is provide more and more information out there so kids, Latino kids, can say, oh, wait, like I can aspire to be X or Y. This is my country too. And I applaud Canada. Canada, I think, has it's, doing so well in terms of diversity and inclusion and equity and making people, feel welcome, and that you're invited to the party. This is your country too. So I applaud what Canada is doing in that respect. So I think that that's fantastic.
Well, thank you, Jose. And I always like to think that the next generations coming up, though, there's great research on the millennials and the generations that are going to run our country. And here's what I want to say to inspire all of those who will listen to this show, who will follow you. And I know many of those will be, the Latino population. And that is, look at Jose, and he's a Latino. Look what he did. He believes in himself. And to all of those listening that want to be like Jose, want to be successful, want to be like me, Tom, I want you to know this, that I was born in the United Kingdom in England on a military base. My parents were born in Fiji. Their parents were from India. My wife is Italian. My granddaughter is half Japanese and Italian. My family is the United Nations family. When I came to the country I came into, I had all the doubts and fears. I had all the things put in my mind that some Latinos have in their minds, that we're not enough, we look funny, maybe we're not smart, maybe we don't have equal opportunity. What I want to say to everybody is, you can, you will, you are enough, you have love in you, the greatness is within you, and hang on to mentors like you, Jose. Follow those, find somebody who has been able to define and be great and copy what they do, because everyone has that greatness in them. And the only thing that holds you back as a Latino is limitations that somebody else put in you. So Jose, on a final note, I'm going to let you tell us about where people can connect to your body of work. You also have an amazing book, I believe, that's coming out called Mucho Success. And hey, you're launching your own podcast as well. So tell us about those things and anything else you want before we wrap this up.
Thank you. So thank you for your kind words. So I agree wholeheartedly with you. Like people, there's greatness in all of us. And also there's pain and there's hurt in all of us. And I think life is a journey of us, identifying those beautiful strengths and those, assets we have, and highlighting them, and then working to heal, our own pain, our own suffering, and also understanding like our own blind spots. And once we know those two things, we can create what we call the competencies, which is, here's like my best qualities, what I best can contribute to the world. So I think that and everybody has greatness and has amazing gifts inside of them. One point I want to make is, the last 2 years I spent, because I'm so interested in this topic. I went out and, because I have my own opinion, but like I'm just one person, so I went out and I interviewed about 26 of the most successful Latinos in the U.S. to
Wow.
find out how they made it, like their success secrets, how they got started, the obstacles they face, and what advice they had for future generations. So I went out and interviewed all of them, and I'm going to continue interviewing more of them. But I'm putting those in the podcast that's called Mucho Success, and it will be available in all the major platforms where people find podcasts, like iTunes, Google, Spotify, and all those. And then that's also the content for the book. And I also use that content when I consult or coach with companies and professionals and entrepreneurs. So what I'm doing is bringing all that knowledge from all these amazing leaders and putting it in a way that it's easy for future generations to digest and use them. So all this, it's basically, if you want to learn more about what we do, you can follow me on Instagram at Jose Pinero 1, or you can visit our website, which is www.latinoleadership.net. And there you can see more information about our mission and how we're trying to help Latinos and other groups, grow and become more empowered.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I've gone to the website. I'm blown away by what you're doing there. And we didn't get a chance to talk about some of your passions. One of them is music. You and I have that connection. And I wanted to just make this point that they say that people who wake up in the morning love themselves first, find the time to do things for themselves that they love to do. They find their passion. And so as we move to wrap this, I wanted to know what is one of your passions besides the great work that you're doing? Is there anything that kind of sets your soul on fire?
Uh, like you, I'm a musician at heart, and I love, love, love playing guitar, mostly electric. And it can be 5 minutes or it can be 2 hours. I just plug one of my guitars into either the regular amplifier, or I can also plug them through interface into the computer and put headphones so I don't bother other people. But playing guitar, to me, it just brings me joy, and in
That's
a way,
awesome.
it also recharges my batteries. If I play guitar, then after that I feel happy and I feel energized. So I love that activity brings me so much joy, and it's one of those things that I can play for 10 minutes or I can play for 2 hours. It's that much fun, and I get lost into the experience. So, and when you get lost into an experience like that and you lose track of time and you're so into it, that's kind of the universe telling you that's part of your magic. That's part of who you are. And I urge people to find activities or hobbies like this, because those bring happiness, and they energize your soul.
I love that. That's amazing. I can't wait to hear you one day. And so I want to just honor you with some leadership words, Jose. As you know, on my show, I don't script this. I write these words down as I'm hearing your greatness. And I want to have 5 words here. I'm just going to tell you what they are. 1 is love. You are love, man. It comes out of you. Number 2 is you are courage, the courage to leave your country, come over here and be a trailblazer. Number 3 is you're authentic. Your authentic self. You're confident in yourself. You know who you are. That's inspiring. And the next word is inspiration, an inspiration to anyone who hears you. And finally, and I said it a moment ago, trailblazer. I believe that the world needs trailblazers, people who are forging a new pathway so others can follow. And they always like to say, there's a saying that the first person through the wall gets bloody. And sometimes you take the hits, but when you're a trailblazer, you're changing the world, man. So everybody, find that true passion like you've heard Jose does. Live life with purpose and live the life that you deserve and desire. Find this show on iTunes. When Jose's show comes out, give it a rating so we can honor his incredible work. And Jose, thank you. We hope you'll come back again.
Anytime. I had a great time. Tom, I love the work you're doing. You're inspiring people, you're educating people, and you're giving them tools to achieve more. So I love what you're doing, and you and I are very much aligned. So it has been my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on your show.
All right, buddy, and welcome to the Quiet Warrior Tribe.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca